Everyone, and welcome to this week's newsletter. Earlier this week, I was at a conference, and I've just come back from it, actually, as you can probably see from the lack of a tie. The conference was with Victorian principals of Catholic secondary schools and was about church renewal. The issues covered in the conference are extremely pertinent to all of us who are involved in Catholic schools at any level, whether it's leadership, as students, as parents, or as teachers. The most recent census shows a significant drop in the number of people who attend church and the number of people who identify as Catholic. At the same time, demand for places in Catholic schools is increasing, and there were some stories recently in the Herald Sun and the Geelong Advertiser and along these lines, and those stories suggested that families value having their children somehow exposed to Catholic values in Catholic schools. Many of us who find it difficult to remain engaged with the church at parish level still retain some kind of attachment and are often described as cultural or tribal Catholics. So in enrolling your son at St Joseph's, he and your family have chosen to be part of church in some way, whether it's because of the values promoted in the school or for other reasons, doesn't matter. We're all still part of church. Some of us feel, though, that because we don't subscribe fully to all church teachings, that we can't belong. And it's worth pointing out that even at the highest levels of the Catholic Church, there are huge disagreements about some items of doctrine or teaching. A friend of mine who's a Protestant of deep faith told me that he had explored a variety of faith traditions, including Catholicism, and that he'd been very, very close to seeking to become baptised a Catholic. There were, however, some items of Catholic doctrine that he found really difficult to accept. And he came to the view that he wouldn't be welcome as a Catholic if he didn't buy the whole package, and they're my terms, not his. I find this really troubling because I believe in the importance of an inclusive church. After all, the word Catholic means universal. Our church should be inclusive of people from diverse backgrounds and should be inclusive of those who are at different levels of understanding and commitment in their own faith journey. I'm very proud of the fact that everyone is welcome at St Joseph's, regardless of their belief. A theologian, Ron Rolheiser, uses the analogy of a family, and I've spoken to some families about this at information nights. Some members of our extended family, says Rolheiser, are around all the time. Some only turn up occasionally, and some we might never see. But he points out and says the church is the same, that somehow, regardless of your commitment and how often you engage, you're still part of church in the same way that you're part of family. A presenter at the conference I've just come back from suggested that most current and former Catholics say the church needs to change. He suggested that 2.5% say it needs to change back to the good old days, the pre-1960s or pre-Vatican II days. And that 90% of Catholics suggest that the church needs to change more to be more like secular society in our modern world. I think change is happening in the Catholic Church, but of course it's the largest organisation on the planet, and that makes change really slow and really difficult. Recently, the Catholic Church in Australia conducted a plenary council to canvass the views of Catholics across the country. The council considered a number of motions, including some really significant ones, affirming the equal dignity of women and men and an increased role for women in the church. I think the motions passed will lead to change, albeit slowly, and move us further towards the church that we will all find it easier to be more fully engaged with and more comfortable with. Last week, I spoke to an assembly of Year 7 and 8 students, and I spoke about the importance of the way all St Joseph students present themselves in public. Could I ask that all parents and families please be aware of and fully support the expectations of the school in regard to students being in full and correct uniform every day as they travel to and from school. And that includes correct shoes and it includes tie and blazer. And finally, the Triumph Light Music Festival will be held across an extended lunchtime at school on Friday, September 9. As part of our commitment to support education in Timor-Leste, we're asking for each St Joseph student to pay $5 in the week leading up to that day. And for that $5 contribution, they'll receive a wristband which conveys the right to wear casual clothes on the day. Arrangements for payment of that money will be communicated to students in the next week, along with details of entertainment and food options that are available on the day. God bless